Coach, what's your first impression of this group? Obviously, you've been here. You're trying to submit yourself as that defensive coordinator. What's the first impression?
I feel like we improved from practice 1 to practice 2.
Yeah.
So that's what you're looking for all the time, but especially in the spring. So I think the things that we're emphasizing, they're listening to those things and trying to do what we're asking them to do. So that's a start.
Gotcha.
How much does it help that there's so many transfers and so many new faces? Coach Satt even said he's trying to figure out all the numbers. You're new,
Yeah.
You're right on the same path as all these guys.
Right.
You don't know anybody
yeah,
either.
they put a lot of guys in 20s. So I was talking to him yesterday if they could wear maybe a different color cleat or glove, and then I could try to sort it out from there on the videotape at least. So, but the new guys are doing well for us. We've got collectively, you've got a mix of early high school enrollees, which that's not an easy thing to be, and then you've got some older guys that transferred in. And that's not an easy thing to do either when you're in a new place. So, in my opinion, they've all done a great job for us. We're going to need them all. We talk to them about that every day, and I think they're working hard enough to do that.
When you look at the tape last year, the secondary didn't have a lot of length. They didn't have a lot of height, didn't have a lot of length. Do you feel like what they've done in the portal has, and with the high school recruiting, has started to address that and change the look of that secondary room?
I certainly can't take any credit for those guys that came in.
Sure.
But they did a great job with the guys who are in, because number one, they're great human beings. All of those guys are, and that's what you got to start with naturally. There's a great mixture of guys in that secondary that came in. With what their best physical attributes would be. So we're really excited about that, and I feel like we've got some versatile guys that probably over time will play more than one position for us. So that provides depth and competition both for us, which is what we're looking for.
Coach, what are some of the challenges of a transition like this where you're learning new faces, new players, new skill sets?
Sure, yeah, I think change is not easy on anybody. Obviously, in this day and age of college football, there's more change throughout the course of a year than there once was. So I think the number one thing is you're trying to build trust as a coach coming in, coach to coach, as a player coming in, player to player, and then that's got to go clearly coach to player and player to coach. So all that trust we're trying to build collectively within our walls, whether you're an offensive guy or a defensive guy. But that's probably the hardest thing, is to build that trust quickly. And typically it's a short period of time, right? And that's the difference.
Coach, what are some of the biggest things you're going to be looking at next week, diving into the tape coming off of this week? What are some of the biggest things you're going to be looking for?
Sure. Well, number one, the guys that have picked up what their responsibilities are that we're asking them to do, number one, right? Just assignment-based defense. And the part that helps is if you're a great communicator. So some of our guys are great communicators right now. Some of our guys are learning how to do that. So those are really the two things that are most important to us right now. And then I feel like we'll start to tweak alignments and start to tweak where guys are going to play and those types of things that would become, more evident at the end of the spring.
How excited are you to try to put Dante Corleone in the best position possible to make sure he has the biggest impact this season?
Absolutely. Well, he's had a great offseason, so which is really exciting, and he's in better condition than he was this time a year ago, which is huge, and that's a start. He's a great leader for us, and football is very important to Dante, and he loves football. So if you're that kind of guy, you're going to obviously have a chance to be successful, and that's why he has had great success so far in his career.
You've led defenses, you've led teams before in your past. With this group and with this time in your career as defensive coordinator, what kind of attitude do you want your players to have on that side of the ball?
Yeah, absolutely. What you'd like for them to collectively compete together and also be great teammates doing that. And that's probably one of the things that's hardest to get right now, because everybody wants to play pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So I feel like we've got a group that is working together to do that. They communicate with each other on the field. They help one another out. They're happy when other guys make plays, which I think you saw that today. So as a collective unit, you're trying to build camaraderie, which is probably one thing that is the hardest thing to capture nowadays than it once was. But hopefully that's what, as a staff, we're showing that camaraderie as a group, and hopefully that carries over to our guys, and then we can embody that as a defense.
When you got here, you said you were going to take a look and try to sort through everything to help determine the scheme. We've seen the 3 safeties. Do you feel like you've got enough depth there and you've got enough quality and talent that it fits?
Currently we do, I would say. Yeah, obviously we've got to stay healthy.
Yeah.
You know, for us starting in this structure is for us the best way to go, because it's difficult to get to that structure if you don't start with it. So here in the next couple of weeks, we're going to move some things around to do some different things. But we felt like, you know, as a staff and certainly with Coach Satterfield, that, you know, the most foreign thing to all these guys would be that structure. So what a great way for us to start, do that for 3 consecutive days here, get ourselves on spring break, and then regroup coming back and see what the next thing is we need to do.
You want to tell us what those different things you're going to do are?
You said you'd be here.
I will be. I promised. Your coaching safeties, how different has that been from your last, string as linebackers coach?
Yeah, it has been different. It's been awesome, to be honest with you. And I think coming in as the only new guy has been a great benefit for me too. So it's made me a better communicator and a better coach, in my opinion. It's a lot different if you even have one more guy with you that's speaking the same language. So I'm coming in not speaking the same language as the entire defensive staff that was here. So at the time I didn't know how that was going to go, but I feel like it's made me a better coach to this point. I've enjoyed that, and I would say again, the group of safeties that we're working with here are unbelievable kids. So it's been a blessing.
What's the over/under on the coffee count now that you're with Carrie every day?
Well, you know what happened to me? So I'm staying at the hotel, right? And the Starbucks was opening at 5:30. Okay, well that was good for most days,
Yeah.
And there was the gal in there working got used to me being there. I was waiting at the door, so then she started opening at 5. Okay, so awesome. So I was able, we had a deal, good. Well, then they changed their hours in the spring. They put a new sign up. Now it's 6. So now I can't get a cup of coffee down before I get down to the hill. I got to get my first one at the building. So. Yeah,
and Carrie's already had 2 or 3.
That's right. It's one less. So whatever the count is, it's one less now. Yeah.
Chad asked you about coaching the safety position. How did you come to that decision to kind of plug and play at the safeties coach instead of going to the linebackers?
Great question. So naturally, the first thing you do when you get any place is meet with everybody that you don't know. So that was basically everybody in the building for me. So I started with our coaches that very first couple of days. Once they got off the road, I met with those guys because I didn't know them at all, outside of a name and a face on the website, So I did that. Collectively, we worked together to try to find what the best fit was for everybody. Naturally, we tried to keep some guys in the positions that they had been coaching because they had great experience there and they're great coaches in those spots. So that helped us too. So we remained, we kept some continuity in that with obviously Walt, Carey. Braz is coaching 3 linebackers now instead of 2. So that's it doesn't sound like it, but that's a big adjustment because your eyes got to be in a lot of spots then. And then collectively with me and Nate coaching the safeties, that's been honestly a great union, to be honest with you. So that's really where I started, by just individually meeting with the staff and then collectively coming together with a common theme.
You didn't give Walt a look at safety?
We didn't. No, he is one of the few D-line coaches that'll hang in there with us when we're watching 7-on-7. So I give Walt a lot of credit. Yep.
Any more?
Thanks, Coach.
All right, yeah.